All right, if you're an international student looking to take the SAT, listen up because this is literally everything you'll need to take this thing. Okay, first let me answer the question that you're probably wondering. Is the SAT any different for international students? Okay, so technically the digital SAT can be different for each student just because it is an adaptive test. So there might be a different sets of questions that you will see from someone else that's also taking it on the same day. But in terms of, is there a special international test where, you know, it's easier or harder than that made for US students? The answer is no. The test is literally exactly the same in its structure, difficulty, and so on. So you will be given the same kind of test that US students are given. The bigger thing to think about is that some parts of it sometimes feel more difficult while others feel, you know, more easy to international students. You know, with math, for example, a lot of international students say it's kind of like a breeze, but that's because the kind of math that they're used to is so much more difficult than what's actually tested on the SAT. While, you know, for the English section, it can be, quite frankly, the complete opposite, especially if, you know, English is not your native language. I will say that you do need to have a very solid understanding of English to even attempt to take this test. But the good news is that most international students who prepare and take the SAT usually do pretty well. But the main point here is that if you have enough time to prepare and study for this thing, there really is no reason why you can't land a top score. All right, I know you didn't just click on this video for me to answer a bunch of questions. You also want those, you know, affordable, preferably free SAT resources out there that, you know, actually work and won't bore you to death. And lucky for you, I know just the thing. Use the link below to access this absolutely free resource that has thousands of SAT practice questions and explanations of all the concepts that you will need to know for the SAT. And the reason you should use the link down below is because with that link, the first 1,000 people to sign up will have access to a free premium tier that unlocks a ton more features. So this is really just a total no-brainer for anyone studying for the SAT. And what I love about Linus is that it has this structured roadmap that you get to work through for every section of the SAT, whether it's geometry, information and ideas, whatever, so you actually have direction in your SAT prep. And the other huge thing is that the answer explanations will actually teach you how to approach that given question type so you don't go on and miss it again in the future. If you're studying for the SAT and you do not have an account yet, you are seriously missing out, and I really do not know what else to tell you. I mean, how can you even refuse that offer? Free premium? I'm sorry, it just does not happen every day. Go and be a part of that 1,000. Go get your account today. So question, what is a good SAT score for an international student? So in general, for any given year, you have to score higher than the average score for that year of international students for it to be a good score. But obviously there's no way of actually knowing ahead of time, you know, how everyone will score. So the general rule of thumb is that you want to score at least a 1350 for it to be considered a good score. And if you're like, yeah, no, I'm trying to get into like the most competitive schools, Ivy League, so on, then you want to score above a 1500 to be competitive. And obviously for scholarships as well, the higher you score, the better. Real quickly, on that scholarship topic, you know, are there any scholarships given to international students based on their SAT score? So despite what a lot of y'all think that, yeah, there's only scholarships for, you know, US students, there are a lot of scholarships available to international students to various universities based on their SAT score. And this is also just another great reason to take the SAT to get, you know, take advantage of all this money. $50,000. And below in my description, I have linked down below some information specifically for SAT-based scholarships for international students. And there are, of course, a lot more, but just to link a few, I have some down below. All right, so question, when do I take the SAT? So if you can only take the SAT once, which is the case for a lot of international students, given the cost of taking the test, what you want to do is find the latest test date that will give you your results in time to still apply to the school, like your school of choice, with the earliest deadline. And you want to pay attention because these deadlines may be a little different for international students. In short, unless you have other considerations, you really want to give yourself the most time to prepare while still getting your scores back in time to, apply to that school of choice by the deadline. But if you can take the SAT more than once, it's actually a really good idea to go ahead and take it a year before you intend to apply to your school. Why? Because this will give you a chance to improve and retake the test if you need to. Also consider that if you're going down the multiple SAT taking pathway, that many schools do accept a super score, and this is just your combination of your best math score and your best English score from all the tests that you took. If super scoring is something that you're interested in, make sure to look up each school that you're applying to make sure that they actually accept super scores, because UT Austin, for example, they don't. And just so you know, currently there are 7 test dates per year for international students, really for all students. So of course you don't need to wait a whole year to go ahead and take it, but just give yourself enough time in order to be able to prepare for a second test if you need to. All right, I know this question may be stupid, but I do want to address it just to avoid any confusion, and that is, do you even need to take the SAT? So here's the complete scoop. Obviously, if it's mandatory at the schools that you're applying to, your schools of choice, then of course you kind of have to take it. But also, here's an important point, regardless of whether it's mandatory or not. A good SAT score is good to have to be competitive. Now note that this is not your only option. You know that you can also take the ACT, and you do not. Please don't waste your time going and taking both. In fact, one of the best tips I can give you is to figure out which option is better for you, which one you might score better on, and go ahead and take that test. But that's a complete separate topic. This guide only focuses and will only focus on the SAT. Also note, traditionally, you probably would only think to take the SAT if you were applying to schools in, US or Canada, for example. But these days, it's actually a great idea to go ahead and take it, even if you're applying to, schools in Europe, for instance, as more and more universities are accepting the SAT score as an entrance exam. So with that being said, submitting an SAT score would often eliminate having to take the university's entrance exam. So hallelujah. Take the SAT. In short, yes, you should take the SAT if required by your university of choice. And again, it can be very advantageous to have, even if it's optional. So what does it cost to take the digital SAT for an international student? Taking the SAT for the international student can unfortunately cost a little more due to various fees involved. Like, there is often a regional testing fee, a testing center fee, and so on. If you're interested in finding out what your cost will be, I also have a link down below in my description where you can look up your test date and your region and so on. And the link is current with today's testing fees, which are for the 2024 to 2025 calendar year. And remember that, once again, unfortunately, these fees tend to go up year after year. All right, so how do I register for this thing? What do I even need? So of course there is a lot of information out there online about, how to register, so on. I have linked some information down below for you guys on that. But the important thing to know for international students is that you need to be able to take this test at an official testing center that is closest to you. And often that means that a student would have to travel to this location, so please do bear that in mind. Also, you will need a device to take this test on. It's not on paper anymore, and of course you cannot take this thing on your phone, but we can take it on a laptop, tablet, Chromebook. One thing to note here is that if you do not have a personal device, you can arrange for one for the day of the test. And just to answer the question of, can I use my school device? Yes, you can. But once again, more information on all this register stuff linked down below. All right, so finally, how do I study for the SAT, and should this be any different for an international student? So unless if you do not know English well, and you have to have some additional preparation to learn English, your answer is no. In fact, you really should be using the same exact resources recommended to US students. With that being said, if you want a go-to place for all things SAT, then your new best friend is going to be the Scholar Circle Discord community, which has now over 2,000 1,000 high achieving students that all share their SAT resources, tips, tricks, and so much more. So you definitely do not want to miss out. And yeah, your invite link is in the description. And I mean, subscribe. What is this channel for? I hope that you found this information helpful. And if you have any more questions at all, please do make sure to let me know in the comment section down below and I'll try to get back with you. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. And again, subscribe for more SAT content. And yeah, check out the description because there is a lot there for you. Bye y'all.